Welcome to EPG Pathshala for Comparative Literatures. I'm Professor Jyotirmoy Pradhani in the Department of English, Northeastern Hindu University, Shillong. I shall be taking up the module Music Tradition in India under the course Performance Studies. This particular module has been written by eminent writer, artist and critic Mitra. When it comes to defining music, it is always difficult to come at a consensus, for there are difficulties in defining the notion of music. It is not enough to say that it is an aesthetic piece of melody and or rhythm, pleasing to the ear and mind. For music is very culture-specific. The concept of musicality varies from place to place, from person to person. One man's music could be another man's noise. One of the broadest and most inclusive definitions of the word music is that it is, quote-unquote, organized sound, a term originally used by the composer Edgar Varese. This definition recognizes the fact that the basic medium of music is sound. Sound is the raw material which the musician uses to create music. In much the same way as a writer uses words to create fiction, or a sculptor uses marble or some other material to create a statue. By structuring sound and organizing it to create an ordered piece, the musician, using the medium of voice or instrument, creates a work that bears the stamp of both his or her own cultural moorings as well as his individuality. Music is a memory and a cultural practice, an individual effort as well as a commemoration of artistic traditions. It is also something that people carry along, embedded in their recollections, often for a lifetime. This is why immigrants listen to the music of their homelands they have left behind with deep nostalgia, sometimes with a sense of loss. Music is an intangible treasure which travels very easily in the minds and memories of people. And also, in this age of technology, through mechanical means that can reproduce music, including radio, CDs, the internet, etc., it is inevitable that over generations, these influences from another land will meet and mingle with the quote-unquote local musical practices of the new land. These, along with individual creative impulses, give rise to ever newer kinds of melodic and rhythmic experimentations, which gradually become part of the acknowledged musical heritage. This makes music a very dynamic art form. Even the same piece of music, the same song, performed by different individuals, sounds and feels so very differently. A concept that underlines much of Indian aesthetics in general, and literature and performing arts in particular, is that rasa, essence or emotion. Rasas can be categorized into 9 kinds: Sringara, that is love; Hasyam, that is laughter; Rodram, that is anger or fury; Karunayam, that is compassion or mercy; Bibhatsam, disgust; Bhayanakam, terror or horror; Veeram, heroic; Adbhutam, wonder; and Shantam, peace. Let us now examine, quote-unquote, the purpose of music. If art has to have a purpose, then the purpose of music, like that of art in general, is to express and to move. These ideas and emotions can be religious or secular. Some of the greatest musical compositions created by humankind have been of the religious kinds, and most cultures have these kind of adoration of the Almighty in various ways, celebrating the glory of God, celebrating the beauty of nature, or that of earthly love, comes into one of these categories too. Getting these broad definitions in place, let us now examine, in brief, the music and musical practices in India. Getting this vast country that is India is hugely heterogeneous in terms of ethnicities, cultural practices, languages, religions, and indeed most other things, including music. It is therefore going to be possible to give only a broad overview of the different kinds of music and musical practices of this particular land called India. Let us now come to the categories of music in India. The music of India can be categorized into 4 broad sections: classical or art music, traditional music, folk music, and contemporary music. Classical or art music in India can be further subdivided into 2 broad categories: Hindustani or North Indian and Carnatic or South Indian. The 2 styles became different over time because of the distinct Persian and Islamic influences in North India, which are less in the southern states. The history of classical music in India can be traced back several millennia. It is governed by rules and performance codes and needs to be learned under teachers and gurus. In contemporary times, however, there are also jugalbandis or duets. The origins of Indian classical music can be traced back to the devotional music of the Vedas, the ancient Hindu religious scriptures. The Sham Veda had hymns that were chanted by priests during religious ceremonies. These chants evolved over centuries into complex melodic presentations. Indian classical music was also influenced by the folk melodies of the land, some of which gradually became part of the accepted repertoire of the classical. In the Shastriya or classical musical traditions, both in North India and in the South, that is the Carnatic music, the octave is divided into 12 notes. There are 7 Shuddha or basic swaras or notes, Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Dha, Ni, being Sa, the upper ones, that is in Hindustani tradition, then Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Dha, Ni, Sa is upper in Carnatic tradition, and 5 semi-notes, Re, Ri, Ga, Dha, Ni being flat, and Ma being sharp, also called Vikrita Swaras. These notes, in various permutations and combinations, form the basis of classical music in India. Indian classical music is monophonic, that is, it is based on a single, well-defined melodic line. These melodic lines, which evolved over centuries, are known as ragas. These are layered, nuanced explorations of melodies. Ragas delve into a particular melodic line and refine and elaborate on them, all within strict parameters. The word raga or rag or ragam itself comes from the Sanskrit word meaning color. That which colors the mind is raga. It is, in brief, 5 to 7 notes or swaras on which a melody is constructed. The way each note is used and approached and the specific patterns created by groups of notes is also important in defining a raga, each of which evokes a particular mood. Theoretically, going by note combination alone, it is possible to have many thousand of ragas, but not all of these are pleasing to the ear or the mind. Today, a few hundred ragas are commonly heard in concert and in recordings. The names of some of the most popularly heard ragas are Yaman, Bilwal, Vairab, Vairavi, Kamod, Malkans, Rageshri, Marubihag, Bhagesri, Kedar, Hindor, Malhar, Todi, etc. In the North Indian system of classical music, there is also a tradition of performing particular ragas during specific times of the day and night. In addition, there are certain ragas which are specific to seasons. The Carnatic system of music, however, does not have either the time or seasonal categorization of ragas. All the numerous ragas of the Hindustani system of music can be illustrated or clustered into 10 groups called thats. Depending on the notes used, the thats are defined or categorized. This categorization by eminent musicologist Vishnu Narayan Vadkhande is today acknowledged to be an encompassing one. In addition to the melodic content of the music, there is also the very important rhythmic content. The exposition of the melody of the raga is bound by the rhythmic cycles. Rhythm, or tala, is a regular repeating cycle of individual bits or matras, particularly as rendered on a percussive instrument. Indian classical music, both North and South Indian, has complex rules for the elaboration of possible cycles, and each such pattern has its own name, though in practice a few talas are usually heard. Classical music also has rules regarding laya or pace. The most common instrument for keeping rhythm in the Hindustani system is the two-piece percussion instrument known as tabla, while in the Carnatic system it is the mridangam. Also heard are the pakawach in North India and the ghatam in a Carnatic musical tradition. All music can be grouped according to the medium through which it is delineated, the vocal and instrumental. Some are blend of both. Indian classical music is very rich in both categories. The tanpura, a 4, 5 or 6-stringed accompanying instrument, is a vital component of all Indian classical music. It gives a continuous drone throughout the performance, which provides reference to the scale in which it is performed. Some other accompanying instruments besides the percussion instruments described above are the harmonium, sarangi, violin, sorumandal, etc. There are several vocal styles in Hindustani Shastriya Sangeet. The lyrics are usually in Hindi and recognizable dialects or versions of it. The more important styles which are heard today are Dhrupad or Dhamar. Dhrupad or Dhamars are the oldest style of vocal classical music extant today, performed to the accompaniment of pakawach and tanpura. Dhrupad performance became quite popular and made quite eminent by the famous Dagar brothers. Khayal is another form of classical music. This is the most commonly heard genre of classical singing of the North Indian style today. The vocalist is accompanied by the tabla, tanpura, harmonium or sarangi or a violin. Some of the best-known performers of the khayal in recent times have been Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, Ustad Amir Khan, Srimati Kishori Amonkar, Pandit Jasraj, Ustad Rashid Khan, Begum Parveen Sultana, and so on. There's another style of classical music which can be said as semi-classical style, which is lighter in form. There's another vocal style which can be defined as semi-classical style, which is lighter in form, known as light classical or semi-classical music. The rules are not so rigid and the expression of emotions are more prominent. Some of these are tumri. One example could be Ustad Rashid Khan's rendition of Rag Desh. Then Dadra is another semi-classical style. This is similar to the tumri, but it is livelier, being usually set to a faster pace. There are also such subgenres such as Jhula, Hori, Kajri, Chaiti, etc., which have their own unique lyrics Many have evolved from folk melodies. Some well-known performers of Tumri and Dadra are Bade Ghulam Ali Khan, Siddheshwari Devi, Girija Devi, Sabita Devi, Shobha Gutru, and others. Ghazal also belongs to this particular category. This is a poetic form consisting of rhyming couplets and a refrain written in Urdu. These usually deal with the theme of love, though they can also be philosophical in content. Some of the well-known ghazal singers of India and Pakistan have been Begum Akhtar, Jagjit Singh, Mehdi Hasan, Abida Parveen, Ghulam Ali, Farida Khanum, and others. Bhajan also belongs to this particular category of semi-classical style. These are devotional songs composed often by the great saint poets of the land. Many were part of the Bhakti movement, the great upsurge of devotional feelings in the medieval period. Among the great composers of bhajans are Kabir, Surdas, Mirabai, and others. There are also other classical and semi-classical styles such as Tarana and Qawwali. There are also other classical and semi-classical styles such as Tarana and Qawwali. Now we shall discuss the instrumental music. The North Indian system of classical music is also very rich in instrumental music. Among the most popular instruments are, in the category of wind instrument, the flute, shehnai. In the category of string instruments, we have sitar, sarod, santur, rudraveena, vichitraveena, and others. Among the major percussion instruments, there are tabla, khol, pakhwaj. Among the major bow instruments, violin and sarangi can be taken the name. Among the bow instruments, violin and sarangi. The well-known names in this field include Ravi Shankar, Amjad Ali Khan, V.G. Jog, Shiv Kumar Sharma, Hari Prasad Chaurasia, Allah Rakha, and many more. There is another key aspect of Indian classical music which is known as gharana. This particular concept of gharana or stylistic families with specific ideologies and teaching methods is one of the central aspects of Indian classical music. In order to understand Carnatic or South Indian system of music, we need to understand some of the basic features of Carnatic music. The art music found in the 4 southern states of the country is known as Carnatic music. The main emphasis is on vocal music. Most compositions are written to be sung, and even when played on instruments, they are meant to be performed in a singing style. Here too, the raga system prevails, as also the tala cycles. However, there are certain important stylistic and ideological differences between the two traditions. Literary compositions play a much more important part in Carnatic music. Purandara Dasa formulated the system that is commonly used for the teaching of Carnatic music. Among the great composers of the system are also Muthuswami, Dikshitiyar, Shyama Shastri, Tyagaraja, and others. The raga system is categorized in a more complex way in the Carnatic system of music, though the basic melodic ideas are the same in both the Hindustani and Carnatic style of music. The talas too are divided into separate categories, though there is importance given to improvisation also. There is less stress on the emotive aspect in this particular system. Compositions or the text play a very important role in Carnatic music. A Carnatic composition therefore has two elements, one being the musical element, the other being what is conveyed in the text. The effort by the musician is to bring out the emotions and the nuances portrayed in the text through appropriate ornamentations and emotive inputs. Composers of Carnatic music were often inspired by religious devotion and were usually scholars proficient in one or more of the languages such as Sanskrit, Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam or Telugu. These are the languages in which the compositions have been penned. Among the important styles of performance in the Carnatic classical music traditions are Varnam. These are short metric pieces which encapsulates the main features and requirements of a raga. Next is Kriti, which is usually in three parts: Pallavi, Anupallavi and Charanam. A vocalist is usually accompanied by the percussionists, consisting of the mridangam and sometimes a ghatam player, and a violinist and one or two tambura accompanists. Among the best known vocalists of these traditions are M. Balakrishnan, M.S. Shivalakshmi, D.K. Pattamal, Lalita and Saroja, also known as Bombay Sisters, Vesudas, T. Brinda, and many more. The instruments of Carnatic music traditions are the instruments. Apart from vocal renditions, the Carnatic system is also very rich in instrumental music. Prominent among the instruments are among the string instruments such as veena, an ancient instrument. These are of various types with different tonal qualities. Those with frets are, for example, Saraswati veena, which are plucked chitra veena, or a Gottuvadyam, a fretless string instrument played with a slide. Among wind instruments such as flute made of bamboo. Among the well-known instrumentalists of the Carnatic tradition music are N. Ravikiran, who plays Gottuvadyam, L. Subramaniam, who plays the violin, Lalguri Jayaraman, who plays the violin and also a vocalist, Ganesh and Kumaresh, who are eminent violin players. Traditional music of India. Apart from the rich classical tradition, there is also other traditional music in India, which are not as rule-bound or orthodox as classical music, but at the same time, which are not as spontaneous as folk music. In some ways, the traditional music of India can be said to be rather semi-classical in nature. There is a wide variety of traditional music spread across the country. Much but not all of it is devotional in nature. Usually, the authors of the lyrics are known belonging to the traditional music, unlike that is in folk music, in which authorship is almost invariably anonymous. Among the categories belonging to this particular category of traditional music includes Kshatriya music. This is the music that is sung and performed in the Satras or Vaishnavite religious centers of Assam. This consists of hymns known as Borgits, set to specific ragas with their own nomenclature and talas. These have been written and often set to tune by the great saint poet of the medieval times, Srimanta Shankardeva, Sri Sri Madhav Deva, Sri Sri Damodar Deva, and other Vaishnavite saints. The accompanying instruments are the khol, a bifacial drum, tal or cymbals of varying sizes, and flute. In recent times, Kshatriya music has also incorporated instruments like the harmonium, the violin, and even the tanpura. Kirtanas are another form of traditional music in India, sung almost all over India in various states, including Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Bengal, Maharashtra, and other states as well. These are devotional songs, are meant to evoke devotions among the listeners. Texts typically cover religious and mythological subjects. Some of the great saint poets of India have composed these songs, which are still sung even today. Baul music also belongs to this category of traditional music in India. This is a musical form belonging to Bengal. Bauls are minstrels who roam the land in distinctive clothes, singing song of devotion in a specific style. They have their roots in the Bhakti as well as Sufi traditions, and the minstrels can be both Hindus or Muslims. Dance music of Odissi is another form belonging to traditional music of India. The state of Orissa has a rich tradition of classical dance known as Odissi. The music specific to this form is codified and set to ragas. The songs have a distinctive style of rendition. The lyrics are usually taken from well-known ancient texts like Jayadeva's Gita Govinda. Also from Orissa, there is another variety of songs which are known as temple music, also belongs to this particular category of traditional music of India. The famed Jagannatha temple of Orissa has a rich tradition of music. Specific songs in specific ragas are sung before the deity at specific times of the day. Manipur too has its own traditional music. The Sankirtana tradition of Manipur belongs to the rich variety of Indian traditional music. Sankirtana encompasses an array of arts performed to mark religious occasions and various stages in the life of the Vaishnavite people of the Manipur plains. Sankirtana practices center. Temples are the major practice center of Sankirtanas, where performers narrate the lives and deeds of Lord Krishna through song and dance. Jikir and Jari is another traditional musical form belonging to Assam. These are unique to the Muslim communities of Assam and were composed in the 17th century by the poet saint Ajahn Fakir. Shabad Kirtan or Sikh Kirtan, Gurwani Sangeet, Gurmat Sangeet belonging to Punjab, also part of the rich tradition of Indian traditional music. Sikh music of Shabad Kirtan is the Kirtan style of singing Shabads, which are the hymns from the Guru Granth Sahib, the core text of Sikhism. The founder of Sikhism, Guru Nanak, conceived poetry that was mystical in character. The Shabads of the 16th century were the musical expression of these texts. Following him, all the Sikh Gurus sang in then prevalent classical and folk musical styles, accompanied by stringed and percussion instruments. Here, the text was the most important element in these songs. The music played a subsidiary role, even though it was an important part of the whole performance. Each Shabad had a specific raga assigned to it. Some of these are unique to the Sikh traditional musical system. The Tala system is also well developed. Rabindra Sangeet is also a particular kind of music system which belongs to traditional music of India. Rabindra Sangeets are the songs written by Rabindranath Tagore. His large body of works include lyrics which deal with many subjects such as love, spirituality, patriotism, nature, and so on. The lyrics are usually set to simple tunes in a variety of styles including that of Kirtan, Baul, North Indian classical, Western melodies, and folk according to their suitability to the lyrics and the subject. Shama Sangeet is also a rich musical tradition from Bengal belonging to the traditional music of India. This is a genre of devotional songs of Bengal written in Bangla in praise of goddess Kali or goddess Shama. This genre originated around 12th century when Shaktism was a popular religious cult in Bengal. Later, Shama Sangeet became more popular at the time of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansadev in 19th century, who was an ardent Kali devotee. Besides Kali, the songs also express great devotion to the goddess Durga in her various forms. Marathi Avan Ravanga is a form of devotional poetry sung in praise of the Lord Vithala, also known as Vithova. Avangs were first sung by Varkari saints such as Namdev, Gyaneshwar, Eknath, and Tukaram in Marathi. Every religion has its own repertoire of devotional music, which forms a part of the greater traditional music of India. Thus, there are Buddhist chants, Jain songs, and also church music in the predominantly Christian areas of the hills of the northeast, for instance, is also based on traditional hymns, but often with linguistic, melodic, and lyrical inputs of their own. It is to be noted that in church music we find elements of harmony, which is generally not there in the music of India, except in a few places such as Nagaland. When it comes to a discussion on Indian musical tradition, we also have to touch upon folk music tradition in India. India is a vast storehouse of music, and also it has a large legacy of folk music. In this land of huge diversities, it is inevitable that the folk tradition should also be very varied and wide-ranging. Folk music is that which is the music of the people. It is spontaneous and expressive of the various emotions of the people as they go about their lives. These folk songs can be group songs or sung solo during celebrations such as weddings and births, or they can be work of songs sung as people go about their daily tasks. Some of the well-known folk musical traditions of India are Fatiyali, Bali Puja Gita, Ghora Nacha Gita, Ghumura Gita, mostly sung in eastern part of India. In the northeast, we have Bihu, Deho Visarar Git, Jhumur, Mokheda Git, Gwalpara Lok Git, Kamrupi Lok Git, Bagurumba, Bhari Gan, Ainam, and other. In the northern part of India, some of the popular folk forms are Bhangra, Giddha, Uttarakhandi folk music, ballads of heroic deeds and heroes, Ghumar, Kachi Ghodi, Kathiputli, etc. In southern India, we have Vavagite, Dollu Kunita, Kulattam, Biragase, Natapura Pattu. In central India, one of the eminent folk forms is Pandavani. In western India, we have Lavani, Dandiya, Garba, and other folk songs of Rajasthan. Folk songs are generally group or solo songs, are sung during celebrations and special occasions. Folk songs are usually rooted in rural life, essentially associated with oral tradition, with anonymous authorship. They're often accompanied by dance and sung with specific instruments of specific communities. And tribal music also belong to this particular form called folk music or folk songs. Apart from these kind of musical traditions, there is another important musical tradition, that is contemporary or modern music. In brief, modern music has its very strong kind of a presence in film music across regions and languages in India. There are also modern music which are non-film. A variety of themes with different instruments and sounds and lyrics describing contemporary concerns. That is what features the contemporary music of India. Fusion, remix, hip-hop are also part of contemporary music. This is a vibrant field filled with experimentations of many kinds. With this, we come to the end of this session on music tradition of India. Thank you.